On program. On program.
On program. Hands on head, eyes front, feet on the floor. Do it.
You two, on program now.
On program.
Now.
Do it.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
I suggest we use these.
On program now.
This is where the fun begins. On program.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. We're back. After so many years, we were beginning to think we weren't coming. I know. Some of us took a little break. And then I told everyone else to take a break, too, because I wanted a break. And now we're going to talk about it. We got some news not too long ago that I wasn't super fond of, and then Outlaws came out, and I was fond of that. So we've been having a good time. So we got the gang back together here. We're gonna dive in. We're gonna talk about a bunch of different things. Got left to right, Andy Mason, Mikey D, Eddie G, Michael B, and Taylor B. That's right. Heck of a gang. Let's dive right in here. This is, like the thumbnail says, the state of Star Wars. We got a lot of things going on the last month, right? They canned the Acolyte, Outlaws dropped, we got some talk about the fandom, and then kind of just where all of these recent developments leave us as far as where Star Wars is going. What lessons are Disney going to take from the events surrounding the Acolyte in the last few months? So very interested to dive into all of these things. But first, I just want to see what everybody's been doing for last month. How everybody's been. So Andy, how about you? What's been going on? You doing all right? How are things?
I'm living the dream.
Oh man, you try not to wake up. Is what's going on. All right. I know an uncomfortable person when I hear one, so we'll just move right along. Mikey D, what you got? How have you been doing, brother?
I've been doing outstanding. I have not played Outlaws. So I've been doing outstanding.
That's what you did. You're not playing Outlaws, you're playing yourself. That's all I'm saying. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that good. It's not that good. Okay, what about you, Michael B? What you been up to?
Just got back from a little vacay, and I started playing Outlaws about 30 minutes ago, so I can give you fully developed thoughts and opinions.
I'm excited. What's your first 30-second reaction to it?
If you hadn't told me, I would have thought this game was made about 8 years ago, just based on visuals. But so far, it's very similar in terms of feel to other Star Wars games. So
made 8 years ago by whom? Because made 8 years
question.
ago by Ubisoft? No.
No.
Made 8 years ago by an enterprising video game company? Perhaps.
Maybe a Bethesda. I don't know. There's a lot of the mouth movements and the eyeballs floating and the glitching through objects and just walking on things. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I'm like, I thought we stopped doing this a while ago. But
yeah, Bethesda didn't. This game looks like if Bethesda made it 8 years from now.
Listen, Skyrim's not that bad.
Skyrim is fun, but yeah, I mean, I'm the biggest Fallout guy you can find. Well, I don't know about that, but I enjoy it. I don't have a Fallout YouTube show, but I do like me some Fallout. But it's a janky game, and it always has been. What about you, Taylor? What you been up to? How are things?
Pretty good. I also just got back from a vacation, short little jaunt to Nashville over the Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
I have not played Outlaws either.
You living life as a real outlaw down there in the Tennessee. That's what you doing. All right, I get it. All right, well, let's dive into it. We'll do outlaws later. I want to, kind of have some fun toward the back half of this, but yeah, let's talk about the Acolyte. We're gonna still do our full season breakdown, and now we have the added wrinkle of the full show breakdown because we're not getting anything more. But yeah, they canceled it. They made it seem like it was some rumors. Michael B was holding out a lot of hope, and I was encouraging.
So I must have missed some confirmation here. What happened that actually confirmed that it was canceled?
All the actors have since said that, in interviews and stuff like that, like it's
all I saw was what's her name was like, she had a whole rant about what's wrong with the fandom, which was mostly fair. And then Manny was just like, it's my life goal to get a second season. But none of that to me still really guaranteed that they knew anything about it actually being canceled one way or the other. Not trying to just be like, it's probably canceled, but
here's 30
I'm
ways
still looking
how
for
Bernie
that
can
actual.
Still win.
Yeah, I'm looking for that actual confirmation of no, it's definitely not happening. Even taking all the merchandise down, I'm like, they do this all the time because they like to price control their stuff and develop hype and get rid of.
Yeah, the merchandise I think came right back. I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't put too much stock in that one, but yeah,
Well-
look, let's go ahead.
Well, we can look back, right, when the Book of Boba Fett or Obi-Wan, when those shows were no longer considered for a second season, did Star Wars come out and say that, or was it just speculation? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain Kathleen Kennedy wasn't like, yeah, Boba Fett, blue donkey chunks, and nobody
Yeah.
liked it. So,
yeah, they're not going to admit that it was bad or anything like that. But I don't know. I'm not like hopeful. I want to see the story go. I'm kind of not at all shocked that it got canceled just based on their current response to fandom backlash. But anyway.
Yeah, well, let's get into that. That'll be the first round of question is, were you shocked that it got canceled? And if yes, why? If no, why not? Andy, is it all right if we start with you, or should we bang it the other way?
Other way, man.
All right, other way it is. Taylor, you get it. I'm sorry, no givesies backsies.
Under the bus.
Let me form an opinion.
No, that's completely fine. I mean, I was hoping it wouldn't be canceled. I'm not that surprised. I think the loudest voices online, on social media, etc., were people who did not like the show and were very vocal about that. So, surprised, no, but disappointed, yes.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Michael, what about you? Michael B, sorry. Yeah, we're going right to left.
I was like, I think the way Taylor put it is very succinct. Yeah. Disappointed because I was, by the end of it, fairly invested in seeing where the story was going to go, but not shocked just based on the controversy. I'm more shocked that they didn't ride the controversy, I think, and just turn it into a cash cow. But that doesn't seem to be Disney's move lately. And if you look at things like the reactions to The Last Jedi and then the resulting Rise of Skywalker, I don't think they have a particularly good track record with listening to fan backlash and then responding to it in a productive way. So, and I realize it was a few years ago, but I think at this rate, we're kind of lucky we're getting an Andor season 2, considering its sort of low viewership in comparison. So I'm just saying, and then we've got Skeleton Crew, which I'm here for, but I just don't know who asked for it. And so maybe they're trying to give us stuff we didn't ask for and give us what we do ask for. And I just don't know, man. I don't know what they're doing.
The only thing I'm hopeful for Skeleton Crew is that for those people that make the most noise arbitrarily, they might shut up for once because it's Jude Law and children instead of black people and gay women running it. Maybe they'll just sit down and do something else for 6 weeks. I don't know. Again, that's not to say that everyone is that way. I was having this talk with my father-in-law who didn't watch the show and is kind of tapped into some aspects of the internet where he was hearing some of this buzz, and he was like, "Hey, man, is this thing really all that bad?" I was like, "No, it's not. Like, it's really, really not." And this is a very diverse panel here. We got all kinds of different opinions. Like, it's not like we're all blue-haired feminists over here. You know what I mean? Like, there's all kinds of different opinions here, and we all like this show, or at least didn't think it was a flaming dumpster fire. And and so it's very frustrating when, like, we're all saying the loudest and I would say least informed voices in the room tend to get what they want. And this was kind of my frustration with the Last Jedi discussion as well. Like, you don't have to love that movie. I'm not trying to make everyone love that movie, but a lot of that discourse was at this level of brain rot. Like, again, there are things you don't have to like about it, I'm saying, but like, we've seen this cycle repeat over and over and over again. Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's like Reva is the last thing we ever needed, and you got Rose Tico and all this. Like, any of these characters that they put in there, it's like, it's ruined my childhood and all this sort of stuff, where I am legitimately concerned that Jar Jar before that. I'm saying in the Disney era, but yeah, you're exactly right. And there's a thread that tends to connect a lot of these characters, and I can't quite put my finger on what it is. But anyway, at the end of the day, I do have a hope that Skeleton Crew might get the pass, but even if it doesn't, I have a fear that Disney, like you said, Michael, is taking all the wrong lessons from this, and we're going to get nothing but the adventures of Luke Skywalker Part 76 when he's on that one, see what really happened
if it's really
in that
canceled
mission on Battlefront 2 and Pilio, when he goes and raids the observatory. Let's get that in live action. That'll be really cool. Awesome. I mean, I like, again, I'm ranting
Can
at
I
this
just
point. Mikey,
agree with you though here?
Go ahead, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Please, agree with me. I love that.
One of the Michaels, No, I think you're right. I think the majority of the opposition is coming from people who didn't watch it. They decided they weren't going to watch it. If they did try to watch it, they watched trailers. They watched maybe a couple episodes if they really gave it a good shot. But it just seems like the standard nowadays is if you're a Star Wars fan, you don't actually like Star Wars. And you also have a nice selective memory, and you like to forget all the stuff that Lucas produced in terms of actual Star Wars content outside of the 6 movies that you like specifically, or maybe only 3. Let's not forget the holiday special or the Battle of Endor, the Ewok stuff. That was all very similar content that was thrown out for very specific audiences that is awful, but we don't really think about the fact that was in era by Lucas himself. And, I just agreed with you here.
It's sad, man. It's like sometimes the bad guys win is what it feels like. And, I promise, Masons, I do want to rope you in here. I apologize, but I just, like, when Rise of Skywalker happened, it killed the show the first time, right? And Michael, you remember that. And so, I didn't want that to happen this time. And then when Outlaws came out and everyone kind of dunked on that a little bit too, or at least the same people did, it didn't get as much hate, and I'm grateful that it couldn't reach critical mass, because I think it's just fun, like people are just having a good time with it. No one's saying it's going to win Game of the Year, but it's a good time. But I wanted to take a little bit to kind of think about how to respond, and now we can come back. I came to the conclusion that
denial.
I would love, in a way, I would love nothing more than to hate Star Wars and hate Star Wars fans and this fandom. I would love to walk away from it like the burning dumpster fire that it so often is. But dang it, it just brings me so much joy that I just can't, and that's what I keep thinking about.
Would you really love to do that though?
Well, that's just it. It's like,
seems like a contrary statement.
I hate being a Star Wars fan, but I love Star Wars, right? It's like all the things that I enjoy in life, like music. I love metal, right? No one hates metal more than metalheads. It's crazy. Like they all, Mikey D, everybody's, if you're crabcore or deathcore or whatever, everybody hates the other and it's all garbage, and but then you get pop fans and they just love all of it and they're having a great time, right? There's not this sort of divisiveness and this sectarian infighting amongst like it is in metalheads and stuff like this. So it's disappointing, and but Michael B, you keep saying, I think a lot of Star Wars fans just don't like Star Wars. And again, I'm not saying we got to shill and we got to love everything, but I do feel like a lot of people just don't like there to be more Star Wars. Like, just enjoy what you had and move on. Like, again,
it doesn't really seem like there's any winning. Like, it seems like Disney has legitimately tried everything to get people to like what they make. And it just doesn't seem like it's possible. And this isn't hating on Disney necessarily, but it doesn't seem like it's possible for Disney to produce something that is a Disney Star Wars content that actually makes fans happy. They can't do a continuation within the existing saga. They can't do an offshoot. They can't do something way before. They can't do something way after. Nothing really makes everybody happy. The closest, I think, has been Mandalorian. And even that had plenty of hate around it at the beginning and towards the end. So I think that's the one that's coalesced the most people who seem to just generally enjoy it. And it's like, okay, yeah, I guess it's Star Wars. But I don't know. I don't think they can win at this point.
Yeah, it's well, okay, so look, let's rope in the Masons at this point now that we've ranted. Go ahead,
and
Andy.
I've developed thoughts. Okay, do I have to be patient? Do I have to be patient and wait my turn?
Go ahead, wife. All you.
She says, "No, I'm not ready," and then she says, "No, I am. Shut up, husband. Let's go."
Let me talk.
Go ahead, please.
No, it's just before I forget.
Go for it.
So you were talking about how you would love to hate Star Wars, and I don't know if I agree with that.
I mean, I would love to not be a Star Wars fan. I'd love to hate this whole circus. Okay, go ahead.
I wouldn't. And I think a lot of that comes down to community and like how it has connected me to other people, how it's connected me to people on online spaces with like artists and collectors that I've met through Instagram and things. And I remember when the Ahsoka show came out and I made a friend because we would DM each other at the end of every night, like, OMG girl, did you see what happened in this and this? And we would just talk every single week like that and have no other conversation because we had nothing else in common. We like Star Wars, and the show, we can look back and be like, womp womp. But I had fun during that process. And you were talking about, I don't know, you said you'd love to not be a Star Wars fan or something. It reminds me of those videos they show of people at the Olympics, like Olympic gymnasts doing their routines and how the crowd watches. But when the parents of that gymnast watch, they're like on the edge of their seat, stressed out because they've invested in that person. And they're more stressed out about it. I feel like that's kind of how we feel about Star Wars when these shows come out. And I feel a little stressed because this is something that I love and people have been shitting on, or pardon me, have been hating on they were hating on the Acolyte so much.
Go for
it. I'm kind of like, oh, I feel this tension within me because that's like something that I've invested in and I love and I want to see it succeed. So I have these successful relationships or little communities that are that are enlivening and inspiring to see people. I just saw an artist today post her recreation of the Holdo explosion because it was one of her favorite moments in Star Wars. So like, I don't know, I think it's super cool. And the Acolyte was, I am a little disheartened and a little disappointed, and I kind of miss being a late to the fandom fan because I knew the Clone Wars had 7 damn seasons. I knew, I already knew what happened basically in a lot of points, and I didn't hear anybody's opinion on them because it happened 7 years ago. So now I'm an in it fan, and I feel like if I don't connect to that community of like you guys and the artists on Instagram and stuff, it is just all trash on the open world, the open ocean of the internet. So I think community is kind of what can tether us, because those haters who didn't even watch the show, that's like anti-community, anti-connection. It's just like, I hate it and it sucks. Listen to me talk about how it sucks. It's it's devoid. It's void of anything good.
Well, I think you're exactly right. And when I say that about loving the idea of walking away, it's just genuinely like the frustration is so intense. Like it really, really is. And I don't, I think you're exactly right, Andy, about having the community. This show has filled that role. You know how many times I've said about Discord being just such a happy place. And, even when people in there are, saying right after everyone else is having just the time of their lives talking about how great this show is, and someone else is like, I think it's the worst. I would love to say that it is very stupid, and I can't understand how anyone that is not an idiot would enjoy it. That type of discourse. Again,
we're more civil than that. Come on.
It wasn't mean, but there's some fuddy-duddy discourse out there, and I get it. And again, that's valid as long as it's polite, right? But yeah, it's community is important. Community is everything, and you're exactly right, Andy. But Mikey D, you've been sitting here like a adorable little wallflower for however long we've been live. You've heard all of this. What are your thoughts on this whole thing, and I guess any and all the drivel that's come forth from your other four panelists here?
I love that you're about to see the opposites attract in how me and Andy work, because you get to see Andy's like community, love, happiness, and I'm about to drop some data points on you. You guys want to hear some data about money, about viewership?
Please.
What I found wild, so I'm looking at the Nielsen ratings, and I'm looking at how the Acolyte did, and the extremely steep drop-off from the initial watch all the way down to the finale, and how much lower the finale viewing is compared to every other modern Star Wars show. And real quick, I feel like everyone gave the Ahsoka show just a little bit of hate, but then destroyed the Acolyte, when I think the Ahsoka show was way worse than what the Acolyte was, and I don't understand it. I think it's so wild. But if we wanted to look at that, Ahsoka ended viewership with 575 million, and the Acolyte ended with 335. So I understand from a business standpoint or from a viewership standpoint why they canceled this show. That viewership is crazy low compared to even one of the worst Star Wars shows that have come out. Even Kenobi, which was an extremely weak show, but had a nice, strong finale, did double the numbers every single week, sometimes triple the numbers of what the Acolyte did every single week.
Have you seen Ewan McGregor? Come on.
Yeah. I'd watch it.
And you got the Hayden effect, right? So this is the thing. I mean, and I want your opinion on this, Mikey D, is like, given those numbers, what do you think Disney's going to take the lesson that I'm scared that they take, which is like, these people don't want anything to develop. They don't want the new stuff. They want their slop. Feed the piggies, give them what they remember, make them eat the memberberry smoothie, shovel it to them. They will eat it, for they are swine. What do you think about that?
That was my next point, because I do not think that's the case. If we look at Andor, which famously had a poor viewing at the start compared to the other shows. If you look at their views per episode, Andor did 9.9 million views per episode, while Acolyte did 9.3. It's obviously Andor did more, but you also have to consider that they were also another $70 million higher budget. So if we're looking at just cost comparison, if we're looking at viewership, them seeing Acolyte do so poor on viewership versus Andor doing so poor on viewership, Andor technically would have lost them more money on this initial, view at numbers. But yet we got Andor season 2. So I don't think it's viewership. I don't even think some of it's complaining. I don't know.
I
really
almost wonder with Andor, I don't know that they can be like dissected. I don't know that they're apples to apples in this case, because Andor was always known that was going to be a season 1 and a season 2. Like, it was announced from the beginning. It's like this. It would have had to have like bombed. Like that should be the model of like, we're going to do 2 seasons of a show. Here's the whole show. You're going to love it. And no matter what, this is coming out, right? That is the way. And they dropped 3 episodes at once because everybody knew like it was boring. It doesn't have lightsabers and, Luke Skywalker and all that sort of stuff in it. So, but it picked up viewership because of the word of mouth. And I guess I'm just disappointed because something like the Acolyte that gives us ostensibly a lot of things that we've been wanting, right? A fresh change of pace, more lightsabers, the Force, all of this sort of stuff. We're not going to get that now because, they're not going to have time to grow. It's got to hit on episode 1. Otherwise, it's like to bring music back in. You're not going to get a 7-minute epic song that builds and is like symphonic. You're going to need the 2.5-minute Da Baby song where like the chorus is the first 15 seconds. Like I love those. I bump them all the time. But you hear the whole song in 1.5 minutes. Michael, you raise your hand.
So one thing I'm just curious your thoughts, Ed. Who was the Acolyte for? Who was the target audience? If we assume there are subsections of the Star Wars audience, I feel like Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, Boba Fett, even Andor, they all had sort of their niche. And I'm wondering who the Acolyte was aimed at. I have an idea, but I'm wondering why that failed and what was the problem.
Well, I'd love to hear your idea because I'm not really sure I can identify the subsections in the way that you're hoping for. Or at least I don't know that they'd have the same. So just flesh that out a little bit more.
I'm just kind of spitballing here, but first of all, it's for us, right? Like you and me specifically, but the people who have invested in the book content, the High Republic content. But Leslie Headland, at least in terms of trying to sell the story and her chops to the fans, this show was supposed to be marketed towards like the EU people, the people that were invested in not the main story content of the Skywalker saga, but the extraneous fringe stuff, right? So what I guess I'm wondering is, did the content completely miss the mark and they just didn't understand that subset of the audience? Or did they just way overestimate that's the size of the audience that they had that was even going to be interested in that content? Because as much as I agree there are a lot of haters out there that didn't even watch the show, there are plenty of people out there that do have reasonable thoughts about not really 100%. Liking the story writing. And even on my second watch through, I'm finding a lot more criticisms than I had on my initial watch through. A lot of things that I looked past and didn't really think about. I'm going, now that the show's over, we gave a lot we'll see if that pays out. We'll see if that pays out. And now that the show's over, I'm like, there is plenty to hate on there, even though we still enjoy it overall. So again, I'm wondering, where was the failure of the show, if not just we put diversity in here and you guys hate that?
And why was it Basil? Did you hate Basil more on the second watch?
It was Basil.
Any and all criticisms of Basil. I do think that they put all their chips on that pet, because they were just like every single time Star Wars introduces some cute cuddly creature, they expect everybody to love it, and that one did not land.
No,
first time.
First time, probably. I don't know, man.
Look, I think that it's one of those where, to your point about different subsets of the fandom, right? There are a lot of Star Wars fans that are in the place that I'm in with Marvel, right? Where it's like, yeah, I love me some Iron Man, I love Spider-Man, but I don't really care about all the comics. I don't get all into it. And,
weird connection there too.
I'm just kind of done a little bit, like I need something good. And what? I don't
There's
get
a Venn diagram between those two fandoms and the people.
Oh yeah, and Disney's doing the same thing to both of them. I think is a genuine point. But what I'm getting at here is there's a lot of people that just kind of don't care. Like they can get invested, but they also don't care. And these aren't, I'd like to think of myself as non-toxic. I assume a lot of other people are just ambivalent. They don't really care. They can be motivated, but they don't care. So when you start hearing copious amounts of negative buzz, however fair or unfair, from people, from the trailer and all this stuff, then, like my father-in-law and other people like that, there's going to be folks that are just like, oh, I heard that sucked, I'll probably skip it, and or had the same thing, except it went the other way. It's like, oh, that looks dumb, I don't really care. And then people are like, no, dude, check this out, you need to listen to this, right? I mean, Masons, you were that way, right? Like, you guys didn't watch it, and I was like, yeah, no, Clockwork Orange, sit down, forks in the eyes, you're watching this. And it worked. And so I think it kind of reaches a critical mass where, regardless of its validity, it gets the ball rolling, and then the numbers aren't there, and then it sounds like it's the shill conversation again, and then it all leads to this point where the numbers aren't as steady as Disney would like, and then they pull it back. And they learn the lesson that even though it's artistically bankrupt, when they put Luke Skywalker on the screen and jangle the keys for all the dinguses, hey, it's me. I'm a dingus. I love it. But,
they were those dinguses too.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, we like that too. But like, yeah. But when they jingle the keys, they get their viewers up, even if the show sucks or is dumb or whatever. At the same time, the haters, like the Star Wars theories and all those people, will dunk on it immensely, but they're still liking Kenobi more because it's got his boy and his Anakin and all that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's a lot harder to just do a hard left swipe on something that's got the nostalgia factor. Like, you're not gonna not watch something that has the Skywalkers in it. That's why, even though people hated Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi, like, there were butts and seats. Michael, quickly, but then I want to bring Taylor back in. We've been talking a while, and I'm sure you got some thoughts about all of it, especially with the EU connections and all of that. Ostensibly, you are more of that fan that Michael was talking about. Like, you're kind of out on Disney canon. You love the Jedi. You love the Old Republic. You love all the philosophical stuff. You love Legends. And that's why I was so interested to see how you felt about this show. And biceps, you do, yeah. Like, they gave you that as well.
You can go ahead, Taylor, if you have thoughts or if you want time to coalesce. I can just keep talking, as we know.
I'll tell you what. You go and I'll go.
Wind him up. Let him go.
I was just gonna say, I think there is an interesting cultural difference though between Marvel and Star Wars, and maybe you guys disagree, but to me, having been more of a Star Trek fan growing up and then a Star Wars fan, there's different sort of cultural perspectives on people who are considered fans of each fandom. And I think, not to be rude to the people who like Marvel, but I don't think people really care about the Marvel fans so much. I think there's such a barrier for entry to be like a real Marvel fan beyond just watching the shows, that the people who are like, I'm not really invested in this stuff anymore. I didn't really like She-Hulk and, whatever else. I just don't think that it's as loud a crowd as much as Star Wars itself was such a cultural thing. It was such an easy low bar for people to get into and enjoy. And it became such a cultural phenomenon overnight when it happened that I think you end up with a much broader sort of base of people who feel like they can have an opinion on it. And I don't ever want to discredit somebody or say you can't have an opinion on it, but like,
absolutely,
as much as I dislike the Marvel stuff, I have never once considered going out and complaining about how much I didn't, or defending any single piece of Marvel content. As much as I've watched all of the movies up to the point of Endgame and everything, and I was, watched them probably more times than I've watched some of the newer Star Wars movies, I was not as invested in that. And I don't feel like the average, at least American, is as invested. We like those movies, but we also know what they are. I think whether it's people expect more or expect different or just have expectations for Star Wars, I feel like maybe people are just taking it more personally, or again, you just tapped into a much larger audience than people who consider themselves like real Marvel fans. I don't know.
It's so tough because, I think Marvel is in a place where, but there's so many parallels, because look at what Marvel's just done, right? Like, well, It's been long enough. Light spoilers for Deadpool and Wolverine, right? Okay, warning, wee woo, don't make me play the song. Like, it's all nostalgia. It's all nostalgia, and that's cool. It's fun. I'm not spoiling a whole ton, Michael. You're good. You're good. I'm not spoiling the things. I'm spoiling the concepts. It's multiverse. It's all nostalgia bait, So, like, it's fun. But I remember leaving the theater, and I was talking to my wife, and I was just like, that was a blast as someone who does not care about this continuity. If they did that with Star Wars, I would be shattered. Like, because it's like, well, now it's, it's Michael B's multiverse, like now it's all who cares, do whatever, what if world, Darth Vader with a candy cane lightsaber, all this stuff, whatever we can do to sell toys. And that, like, again, we know
Lego
this stuff
does it
isn't
for them.
real.
We're good.
We get that. Yeah, Lego, like, it's its own world, and that's fun. That's awesome. Scratch the itch without ruining the main thing, right? I love that. But, and then you got the news after Deadpool that, Marvel's doing Robert Downey Jr. is coming back, and it's a multiverse thing, and all this stuff, and it's like they're in the same boat. Like, they're in the same boat where, that's just it. That's it, right? Like, that's the genuine question. And Taylor, I'll bring you back in here. It's like, is that what we have to look forward to? Like, regardless, we'll get some books that we can still bang the drum for, but all we really have to look forward to is nostalgia play after nostalgia play, and we just need to hold our nose and take our medicine. Is that what's going to happen here?
I hope not. Right? I don't know. As an EU person that really enjoyed the Acolyte, like, I know, as we've all been saying, there's some things that didn't land, but overall I really loved the show, and I really enjoyed the fact that Disney took a chance and started exploring a different part of the timeline. And I think, I would love to, my hope is that maybe the EU community was just smaller than we think it was, or that they weren't as vocal, because to me, part of being an EU fan was learning about other parts of the timeline, other characters, right? That was what was so interesting about the EU. Yeah, a lot of it was initially focused around the Skywalkers, but then they started going off in completely different directions. Like, we started learning about random bounty hunters. We started learning about, like, all these different, like, tales from different places we knew, different time periods, and it was just fascinating. And the fact that the world was growing, that we could delve into that, is what really drew me in, and what I would think drew in most EU fans. And so the idea that EU fans just sort of hopped on this sort of hate train would be very disappointing to me, because I really don't think that's who we sort of are at our core. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want it to just be the nostalgia, because as much as I love the Skywalkers, obviously there's more to explore. I always want to see the world grow. Granted, I will admit, with the Marvel, just referencing what Marvel's doing, they had to do something, I think. Like, I had just given up on Marvel movies, and it is the pure nostalgia of them bringing Robert Downey Jr. back that's going to make me watch what comes out next. But yeah, I don't know. I would hope that my fellow EU fans would be thinking a little bit more broader than it seems like general audiences.
No, because Marvel had to do a reset in some way, because, to your point, the scales are so, like, Titanic at this point, and every character is way more OP than the last one. And, they did, like, Eternals, and it was a CGI fest, and then Black Panther, Wakanda Forever was like bad Avatar. It was just like, it was a lot. And, they had to reset, because what made those movies great was the grounded feeling of Iron Man, of like, wow, this could almost happen if you squint, right? The fact that they made Thor feel believable talking to Iron Man and all that sort of stuff, that was awesome. And so they're trying to recapture that magic. And that's where my blood starts boiling again, because it's like, this was that moment for Star Wars. Like, we're in a different time era. We're doing different characters. Everyone could have died. Like, it's all right there. But because it's a black girl, y'all can't stand it. Like, it makes me so mad. It drives me up the wall that, again, you don't have to love the show, substantive critiques, all of that stuff. Like, I'm not sitting here saying if you don't love it, you're not valid, right? That, fine. But the way this show was hated from the jump, and the amount of haters that I've sat down and been like, watch this lightsaber battle and tell me that it's dumb, woke, and gay, like come on, and then they always come around. And Michael B, you've done it as well, and then we talk about the Legends connections. You see a clickbait article that's like, they broke lightsabers, and like, no, actually cortosis has been around for a very long time, or light whips have been around since the 80s, and all this stuff. And it's exhausting because I feel like that was the moment. And of course, Andor season 2 could be something like that. It could give an adrenaline shot, you hope. But yeah, you hate to see these moments just kind of go by on the conveyor. Because I, for one, felt like there was some moment like that with The Last Jedi. And then Rise of Skywalker was like, again, I get it if you don't like The Last Jedi, that's fine, but it did something. It went somewhere. And then they just were like, oh no, I'm sorry. Here, have nothing. have room temperature
Palpatine
tomato soup. Yeah.
Hope you're hungry.
Exactly.
And
Go ahead.
That's the other thing about the EU and being an EU fan is like, I don't know, I feel like we understand, I would hope we understand that, right? It's not going to be the perfect thing and everything you want each time, right? As an EU fan, I am very capable of admitting there was some weird stuff in those books. Not all of them hit, but at the same time, people were trying to continue to expand that world and continuing to try to give us new characters and new places. And exactly. And so I feel like we've lost that a little bit just as a society, in that we want everything we receive to be perfect and everything we want. And so I feel like we just tear apart the bits that aren't, as opposed to recognizing that they're trying, and they might not have gotten everything right, but they were at least heading in the right direction. And let's try to reward that chance that they took, as opposed to just
100%.
completely, crapping on it. And
well, that's Eric B. Like, he is the most of all of us. He's the most predisposed to be, like old man yells at sky, right? And that's said with all the Eric love in my heart. Like, he's said it. He's like, I'm the curmudgeon of the group, guys. I'm Ben Kenobi in the cave, But even still, every time he tells me, he's like, man, I just love that we're getting Star Wars. It's so cool, And I just genuinely think that is something that most of these people need to reckon with. It's like, if you're not in that place where it's like, man, I'm just so glad we're getting Star Wars, then, brother, there's something else out there for you. Like, do
you know what's also
else.
crazy?
Take up crocheting. Like,
you think of the other fandoms that are out there, and then the amount of any fandom out there that has this number of movies and this amount of content, which there's not even a lot out there, but
right.
How many of them have bad movies? I mentioned Star Trek again. It's a universally understood fact that every other Star Trek movie was awful. Like, they're just bad. And yet you don't see the fans being like, oh, Paramount, CBS is just ruining Star Wars or Star Trek. That's not my Star Trek anymore. I mean, granted, there's some new stuff out there that I don't even really enjoy, but still, like, it's the movies are the movies. And you watch it, you're like, yeah, that was a bad one. Nope, this was a good one. Okay, yeah. Like, you just move on. It's still Star Trek.
Yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon. And so, again, bringing the Masons back in, either one of you with your divergent opinions, what are your thoughts on this sort of trajectory and the Star Wars versus Marvel thing, nostalgia versus innovation? Do either of you have anything that you would like to say, given the two of us just yapping? Because, again, this half of the table has a lot more Mikey D, you've read a lot of Legends, but I'm talking about Taylor and I. Like, we cut our teeth on that stuff. You know what I mean? Like from back in the day. And so Andy particularly jumping in fairly recently here. Like, what do you guys think about all of this stuff and where it's going?
I don't know.
You wanted all that community, you know? Like, what kind of community are you finding here? Like, you know, like, I don't know. Like, I'm just,
Well,
it's
not on Facebook. I tell you what, those are some of the most nasty
Hear, hear.
comments from, nasty people with nasty ideas. I think we've said it a bunch of times. We know why people don't like that show. We know that it's not the reasons that they say they don't like that show. So, yeah, that's not where the community is. It's very opposite of that. And I don't know. Like Michael B said, I wish people could just watch it and not like it and then go outside, touch grass, drink some water, I don't know, do something else besides be a hater. I don't know.
Yeah, it's disappointing. What about you, Mikey D?
I still don't get how this show got so much hate, but Ahsoka didn't get nearly as much hate.
But
That show pissed me
But
off.
you know, they put face paint on that black girl. Come on, like Zoe Saldana didn't get hate in the in Avengers or Avatar. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
We know.
Like Reva.
It's not a secret.
Jar Jar. Like, I mean, you know, it's like it's Finn. It's Rose Tico. Like, it's Rey. Like. You know what I mean? Like, ain't nobody hating on Agent Callus. You know what
And he needs it too.
The only caveat to that, the only exception, and I will say someone who got a lot of hate that was a white guy, is the Grand Inquisitor, and he deserved every bit of that. There's an exception to every rule.
He just wasn't the white guy we wanted. Let's be real.
Yes. Oh man, I don't know. It just like Andy, you said when Amanda put out that song, I quite enjoyed it. But then you said like not reading the comments is in and of itself self-care, and I was like, yeah, because you dip your toe in there, and it's substantive critiques they were not, and again, it's so thoroughly disappointing because it sounds like I can hear the side of my brain that doesn't agree with me, right? That's saying like that's speaking for the people that don't agree with me. That's like, oh, this guy's just, he's a shill and all this stuff. And it's like, I've got people in my life that do not share the vast majority of my opinions, right? My father-in-law being one of them, right? Like this, he was talking to me. He's like, I can't believe that they made all that headway off of an interview from 4 years ago that had nothing to do with this show. Like, I genuinely thought that was this show where they were talking about making white people cry or whatever, right? And it's like, I saw multiple articles, multiple sources heavily indicating that was that. And it took you to tell me that it wasn't. And that's very frustrating. And, I just, it's that cottage industry of just hating Star Wars from people that ostensibly make their whole livelihoods off of loving it. And it's just very disappointing. It truly, truly is.
For real.
Bars. Anybody have any thoughts?
Like a perfect show, though. Like it's the thing of that it wasn't like an outstanding show. It wasn't amazing or anything, but I think it was enjoyable. Like, why can't we just enjoy something? Is it so bad to just enjoy something?
That's it. I mean, and okay, so I keep coming back to there's a YouTuber called, I think it's called Pillar of Garbage. He made a video when the show first came out talking about fire in space. That was the big kerfuffle was fire in space. And he talked about the sort of selective application of scrutiny. And, to your point, Mikey D, it is not Oscar bait. It is not the best show we've ever seen. It truly, truly isn't. But when you grade it according to the other Star Wars entries, it is not uniquely bad. It just genuinely isn't. Not according to any metric you can look to. And the same people that are loudly championing back when Star Wars was great with I don't like sand or, it's just, it's bonkers. It's bonkers. And I don't know. Yeah, like Andy keeps saying, we know some of the differences anyway, but yeah, I don't know where this all goes. All in Andor season 2, we trust, and we'll just have to go from there. I will say there's a lot going on in the live chat that I just can't keep up with. So if anybody has anything of note that they want to say from that, feel free to just shout it out and bring me up to speed, Michael B.
Nothing important. Don't worry about it.
All right, great. The Michaels have their own internal communication channel, like in Republic Commando, where they shut the external speakers off and they're just talking to each other. It's great. And
I will say
Michael Kahn.
One of my thoughts was just that we've had conversations before about what Star Wars is to us, right? And my at least sort of definition was Star Wars is sort of the average or sum whole of the existing content, and so when they add new content, it sort of expands what is considered Star Wars to me, and so the sort of epicenter of what is the core of Star Wars moves a little bit. It shifts outwards the more they add to it. So if I consider A New Hope like the most core central thing of what is Star Wars to me, the further we get away from that, the less and less that actually feels like the sum whole and core average of Star Wars. So my only thought here was that maybe what they did is they jumped too far. Not that the story is the problem, because as we talked about, for some of us, we watched this like, wow, this actually feels a lot like Star Wars. It's got the music, it's got the establishing shots, it's got the visuals. But
the wipes, so many wipes.
The wipes, it's got the easy wipes. I love the wipes.
Every episode.
But what it doesn't have is a consistent feel for what Disney Star Wars is, and I'm wondering if Disney is shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, I think this is not a tremendously hot take, but by the sheer amount of content they are producing, they're so rapidly expanding the iris of what Star Wars is that people can't adjust fast enough. And so they haven't really spent enough time establishing what is new Star Wars. What is Star Wars post 7, 8, 9? And as we sort of expand that, they've been expanding it from within, really. They've been adding Kenobi, they've been adding Andor. Mando was a little bit of an expansion this way, but then everything else has sort of been insular. And then what they did is they launched this thing way out here. And for the people who weren't into that already and invested in the books and weren't willing to give it enough time, at first they just looked at it like, this is a completely foreign object to me. Even though, again, for those of us who watched it, we're like, it actually is pretty Star Wars-esque. It feels a lot like it. It makes a lot of the same mistakes the rest of Star Wars makes in terms of dialogue and cheesiness and things like that. It actually is, but because the setting itself did not exist close enough to the epicenter, or they had not fully established that like the feel of this show is central to Star Wars, it had too many things that were so separate from it that it just like it managed to put everybody off, or at least a large enough percentage of every target audience off that it just bombed. And I don't even think bombing is really a fair phrase for this because of all the attention it got. And I have to assume that it made Disney plenty of money, even outside of viewership. But you know, ultimately everything is going to come back to that: is how much money did it make, and was it a worthwhile investment? And I'm sure none of us really want to see them make a $50 value sequel season that has more CGI and use the volume instead, and you know, stuff like that.
I don't know. I almost hope they just write a banger novel.
They probably will. You know, I mean, they're already doing that, right?
Well, they're coming out with comic books, but that was already
3
planned.
novels, right?
I think they're like prequels or something like that, you know. But it would be interesting if they just commit to it, because I mean, you know, like we've kind of gotten that with Solo, right? Like Solo season 2, everybody was clamoring for, but like Kira has shown up in all the comics since then, and you know, and she's in Outlaws as well. You know, that's in the trailer. You know, so I wonder if that's gonna happen here. Andy, you have something to say, perhaps?
Oh, did you? I just saw that I was muted, but I hadn't muted me.
I muted you because you were. It was coming through the room. But yeah,
That's
it's all
all.
good. You raised your hand, or maybe you didn't. You didn't.
I was just like, oh, what's wrong with my thing?
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right. Well, anyway, look, it's a rabbit hole, and we've gone all the way down it. We can all hope for the best. I mean, Skeleton Crew is still on the horizon. They just said They said that Ahsoka season 2 will start filming, according to Sabine's character. So I can't remember her name, Natasha Bordizzo, right? Something like that. I can't remember. I forget her name, but either way, so that appears to still be moving forward, and they haven't announced much else, and I truly doubt they will. Do we think that the movies are still safe that they've announced, or will they join the long list of canceled projects? Michael, I think I tend to agree with you. I don't have really any faith in the Disney higher-ups to stick with the Dawn of the Jedi movie. What do you guys think? Anyone else have any contradicting opinions to that?
First, I just want to say hi, McNugget. Glad you're here.
Oh shoot, McNugget, yeah, and Andrew too. I missed that. I've been too busy ranting about how sad I am that I didn't see that. Yeah,
About how
Andrew,
much you want to
welcome
hate
back.
Star Wars.
That is not what I said. Do not clip me out of context. I do not say that. No. Yeah, Andrew says, remember to smash the like. Please do so. Please smash the like, Smash the like. And McNugget, yeah, couldn't agree more, man. It's in total agreement. But I will say, to Andy's point about community, like having this little enclave was a delight. Seeing the boys over at Star Wars Democracy having their little enclave was a delight. Getting to talk to them, having Travis come over here as well from that community, getting to know these people. It's been a delight, and I'm glad that we can still do that, and I'm glad that we can kind of carry the torch, and as much as I say sometimes I do wish that this didn't feel like talking politics or talking about, greater cosmic questions, I wish we could just enjoy this. It's good that we're all here. It's good that this group of folks is here and we're all having fun, and I love it. I love it a lot. Michael, please.
I'm seeing breaking news that they've announced a Old Republic movie within the last 30 minutes.
What?
Maybe some Google searches.
Pardon?
There's no way. Don't do that.
Don't give me
hope.
We're all aggressively Googling right now.
Star Wars Newsnet doesn't have anything.
Where did you see this?
Yeah.
I saw this on a generally reputable Facebook group, and it was along with other news I knew was actually true.
That sounds
but
like
I said, this is within the last like 30 minutes.
Reputable Facebook group.
Within the last hour. Not seen it. We'll have to see. We'll track it. I'll check in and see if I can find some sourcing.
Yeah, because that would genuinely be the most shocking thing I've ever heard, and I would not know what to do with a lot of things at that point. That doesn't make much sense.
I think it's a meme.
Me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I mean, it's not a meme. It's buried in the hashtags that it may not be true.
Yeah, because look, I mean, that's the thing. For a split second, it was quasi believable because it's the type of stuff. Disney wouldn't, but also it's the type of thing that the fan base ostensibly wants. Like these type of people, they only want what they've had. And like you've told me before, Michael, like if they do a KOTOR movie and they make like Revan female, would you be okay with it or something? And I'm like, I want to see these stories.
I would be more okay with it than you.
I want to see these stories. I want to see. It doesn't have to be exactly how I played that RPG. Like I want to see this stuff play out, and I just want everyone else to get to experience something akin to what I did, and that's the driving force. But yeah, it definitely doesn't. Please.
Do you think we're gonna ever see the continuation of the story, or maybe the Acolyte story, or at least that time period directly after that Acolyte? I feel like there's so much story to be had there, or at least so much development there. Do you think Star Wars is ever going to get to the point of showing that on screen?
See, you had me up until on screen.
Yep.
On screen, I don't know. I think at this point, the best you can hope for is an animated show. Something like a Tales of the High Republic or something to that effect. If they're following the Solo model, you're going to get a lot of comics and, a handful of video games and this, that, and the third. And I think, some novels, which genuinely a novel would be pretty cool. But, hell, maybe bring back James Luceno to write it, so that way suddenly it's taken seriously. I would love. I love James Luceno, right? So, I'm not dogging the OG Plagueis book. I love it. But I'm just saying, for those of us who can't take anything new seriously if it's not exactly what came before, then, yeah, bring back James Luceno, right? That would be awesome. I don't know. I don't know what... but I do think that, unfortunately, Disney will take all the wrong lessons from this. Especially if Skeleton Crew is anything other than the surprise hit of the summer. I think they're going to just look the other way on Skeleton Crew, and either that or they're going to name drop Mace Windu in Skeleton Crew or something, and we'll just have to deal with it. But
that would be on par, and I would watch Sam Jackson in Star Wars content, any Star Wars content, absolutely.
Well, that's the troublesome bit.
Give me the milk. Give me the milk.
The squeaky wheel is going to get the grease here, because we're going to watch it and we may not enjoy it, but but we will, right? We may not. It's the recalibration that we need that we won't get, right? It's like when Andor came out, or the last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars, that just kind of reset everything after the sequels and was like, hey, you remember, this is what it can feel like, right? We're not going to get that, because we're getting, we're getting Luke Skywalker 80 million times. But any last thoughts on this whole thing? We can put it to bed and move along. Taylor, no. Michael B, yes. No. Andy, no. Mikey D, okay. All right. At this point, I would like to tell you all my experience with Outlaws, and anyone can ask any questions they have. Michael B, do you have any opinions from what you've been able to glean so far? I know it's just been a little bit, but what are your initial thoughts?
I can't remember. Did I already critique the graphics?
You did a little bit. You said it looked old, but that was mostly in the goofy
I don't know.
intro part of the show.
I'm disappointed, along with everybody else, compared to the original promotion material. And I'm maxing out the graphic settings on this thing. It should be as gorgeous as possible on my machine, and it just looks dated. But that's not everything, right? That's one small aspect. It's one small disappointment just out of the get-go. I'm tired of the companion shtick. I feel like it's an excuse because your character is not interesting enough that you have to have a little robot or furry companion. But in terms of
sorry, I want to let you keep going, but where else? I don't play a lot of video games. I just genuinely don't. So I saw it in Battlefront 2 a little, but
And
where else
both
outside
the-
of Star Wars and stuff, have you really, has it been super prevalent? Because I don't really find myself using it all that. It felt fairly repetitive to me.
every fantasy game ever has here's your companion dog or cat or whatever magical creature. I can't say for Baldur's Gate because I didn't play that one, but a lot of games in this sort of a genre, in an RPG kind of setting, have, if not a companion creature, you're gonna have a squad of people. But to me, usually the creature is an excuse to avoid the Skyrim situation where you have just really bad AI physics on your people walking around, and it's a lot more excusable when it's a cute little dog that can flip through walls and magically appear and disappear wherever you
I
want.
feel like
them
it's
to,
always
which
optional
totally
though.
happens.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's on one hand, it is sort of creating a standard. I do think the last 4 major Star Wars games have had that as a mechanic. I may be missing one, but yeah, Battlefront 2, and then both Jedi Survivor games, and now this one, at least. They've all had a little shoulder pet thing that helps you through your missions, and it adds comedic relief and beeps and boops and whatever, and it helps you sort of have the character, somebody to talk to.
They're solid boops,
yeah,
for sure.
No, like
It's
I don't hate it. I'm just tired of it. I think I'd like to see more like a Republic Commando back, where you got a squad and the squad interacts in a way that feels genuine and interesting, and isn't like goofy AI physics, but is actually useful.
Hot take: Republic Commando sucked. Republic Commando was not a good game.
No,
it was fun.
No.
It was fun,
False.
but no. Listen to me. Listen. If you release that game today, it gets destroyed. It gets destroyed because it was like 3 levels. It had nothing really going on. It was Halo and Doom in space. Like, it was not, like
Unreal Tournament. Yeah.
I'm just saying. If you apply the same criteria for complaint,
disagree.
It was
Give
full
me
price.
Star Wars Halo today, right now. I'll take it.
It was full price.
I don't play regular Halo,
levels.
but if you Star Wars branded it, I'll play. You Star Wars brand Fortnite, I'll play Star Wars. I'll play it.
Dude, there's Star Wars in Fortnite.
There's Star Wars in Fortnite.
I know,
right
but it's
now,
not. It's not all.
Let's go.
If there was like a Star Wars mode, honestly, I'm tempted to play Star Wars Minecraft because they made it, and I'm kind of interested. So
hell yeah.
I disagree. I played the crap out of Republic Commando. I played that story
I
so
played
many
it too.
times. There are still people. Who play that game online right now. Still online servers you can hop into and just get totally trashed by like grenades flying constantly. It's fantastic. I love it so much.
I think both of these perspectives can be true. It can also be a bad game and people be in there playing it.
I think we can at very least both agree that the lore and sort of the mechanics of what they did for certain characters like Wookiees and super battle droids is very messed up. Those were they've been my favorite renditions of said creatures, but they're very canonically wrong.
I should clarify, that's more of what I'm getting at, is like the criteria by which we complain. Like, Republic Commando should be at the bottom of everyone's list, right? Like, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
But the
I enjoyed it just as much as the next guy, but
and the mechanics of the
I thought a lot of the lightsaber
them
fights in the
around.
Acolyte were pretty cool too, but and
I don't know that Republic Commando did necessarily super well either, because like you said, it did come out like the same year, relatively around the same time as the first Halo game, which overshadowed like everything. So I only played it in the multi-pack years later, sold at Target with all the Empires at War and the Jedi Knight games and the Knights of the Old Republic stuff, and all on one disc. So
yep, yeah, that was my experience as well,
and I still played the crap out of it.
Yeah, I mean, same. Like I'm mostly talking about the discourse, and again, striving for consistency in critique. And that's what I was talking about with the Pillar of Garbage video about Fire in Space, which I highly recommend everyone should check out. I'll post it again in the Discord. Really good conversation there. But okay, so here's my just general thoughts on Outlaws, right? It is aggressively fine, but it's perfect for me. Anyone tell so I talk with Wyatt about it, and he is a gamer all the way. He plays all the time. He's hardcore, and he talks about this game, and he's just like, bro, I can't get into it. It's janky. It's got it's a little buggy. It's not super, and he said exactly what you said, Michael, about the companion and all this sort of stuff. My thought on the companion piece is like, unless you're going to be a Jedi, which is why it's funny that Jedi, the games had BD1, but unless you're going to have superpowers in one way or another, you're going to run into the Mary Sue thing very, very quickly, right? Like, how can Kay run in and just like body squads of stormtroopers right out the gate? Like,
I mean, if she's Boba Fett.
Yeah, if she is a he and he is Boba Fett, then we wouldn't be having this problem. Yeah.
We could get a... no, Leia doesn't count either.
But
Haldo,
even,
the game.
with customizable hair color. I'm sure the fandom will love it.
That would actually be fairly appropriate for her character.
Oh my
Every time you
gosh.
boot the game, the hair's a different color.
I'm having a lot of fun with this game. I said in the sort of hype session for it that I'm hoping it's Assassin's Creed and Star Wars meets Far Cry or whatever, and it's everything I wanted. And there's a couple of things that I wish it was more. Like I wish you could customize your weapons a bit more. I wish you could have a little bit more options as far as loadouts and things of that nature. But people are saying the story's a bit short. I disagree. I'm having a lot of fun with the side quests. They're not like fillery things as much like Assassin's Creed was. It seems like each side quest is well, not every single one, but most of them have something to do. Sabak is probably the most fun I've had on any in-game minigame ever. Sabak is great. Like, legitimately, Michael B., I might need to enlist your 3D printing skills to help me make a kit because I want to do it in real life. Like, it is just that fun. I don't want to ever play Blackjack again. I want to play Kessel Sabak from Outlaws IRL over a fifth of whiskey and have just a night. Like, I'm not being ironic. It's so much fun. But yeah, the story, I've been really enjoying it. Andy, you had mentioned that one of the most interesting things about it to you was the commando droid ND5. I like him a lot in this, and I think you'd enjoy it as well. I actually would recommend this game to you, Andy, more than anyone else. Just like getting to be in the universe and having it just be like a fun open world romp. You don't get nearly as much RPG elements as you did in Baldur's Gate, but given your enjoyment for open world games, I think you might enjoy it. But let me unmute you now.
My speaking privileges were removed. I couldn't say anything. I've been silenced. Eddie Roman wants to silence women.
You could have just raised your hand. It's just women don't wear headphones. When women wear headphones, they don't get muted.
I don't have to meet
Look
your
at Taylor over
criteria.
There. Taylor ain't been muted once. That's all I'm saying.
I can't
All
use
right, what you
headphones
got?
because I'm using the microphone. Listen.
All right, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
How dare you? No, the droid is funny. I didn't like. You might have me mixed up. I think it was. I shared someone talking about how it's interesting that they're using a droid to address
you thought
like
the droid was hot.
I didn't see the droid was hot.
Hang on.
Maybe he has an energy.
Sorry, that was me about BD1. I think we're getting this all mixed around.
BD1 is a baby, you little freak.
BD1's older than all of us. Let's be real. He was chilling with Eno Cordova in the High Republic.
Fair.
Oh, gosh.
No, Michael B's pulling up receipts. I don't know. He has an energy about him. I don't think he's hot per se.
He had that energy. He was inseparable.
I think it's funny that they're using him to, or at least someone said it was interesting that they're using him to tell like a PTSD type story about the Clone Wars, when I would love to hear that story from, I don't know, clones or like living people.
Have we not gotten that like in multiple seasons? Like we're getting that a lot more than not. Like, I think it's kind of fun that you can get the idea like robots don't get enough love, man. Robots don't get enough love. We've talked about this. I've put up clips already.
You robot lover weirdo. It's kind of gay.
I never expect you to do this stuff.
Sorry, I'm in a mood.
Who are you, Kira, talking to Lando? What are we doing here? Look, it works. That's all I'll say. It works.
I don't know. Kind of weird.
Wow. That's off the rails. Hey, so speaking of things working or not, Wyatt Michael, welcome. Glad you're here, buddy. I love you. He says, wish the mechanics were better. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Like that's his take generally, is just that it's my brother is a finely tuned gaming machine. right? And when he's like a Formula One race car, he notices when his left rear tire is slightly deflated by 10 psi. You know, like he will figure that out. If he's a musician, he's like the well, okay, what 0.5, whatever. You get the point. It's sticking a little in the left turn there. You know,
Pretty flat tire, buddy.
I am not that way, and so yeah, I don't recommend this game to everyone, but I think where Hogwarts Legacy was this sort of way, where it's like if you just want to be in the world of Harry Potter and float around and Avada Kedavra things, then
And get cool outfits. Oh my god!
and get cool outfits. Like again, you can get a handful of outfits in here. I think you can. It's about the same. Like in that game there wasn't a ton you could wear or do either, right? Like that was one of the critiques, was like there's only so much you can outfit your character with, and that's what's happening here a bit. Like there's only so many things you can do.
You're gonna love this, Ed. I tried to play Fallout, but I couldn't get my character to look cute, so I gave up in character creation. She's ugly. Why is she so ugly? I can't walk around looking like that.
That's why God made first person, girly.
I was
How do you think I do it? You know what I mean?
Oh
like,
my
come on. Think about how the rest of us live, kid. Come on, you just got to avoid as many mirrors as you can. Just kind of like look outwards and find good-looking friends. Wyatt says all the little things in that game stack up and make it less of a good experience. Yeah, 100%. And I think you're kind of hamstrung as well, that you don't have a deep, burning desire to spend as much time as you can in the world of Star Wars. And that's my Achilles heel, where this game scratches that itch for me. So, yeah, I'm grading heavily on a curve, and I think a lot of us might be. I do expect that this game will have a bit more staying power than people are expecting. Like, I think this game's going to have a lot of replayability. Sort of like, people were saying Jedi Fallen Order came out and it was just kind of not a dud, but like it kind of just, and then slowly people kept playing it over and over. And, I think this has that potential for people to kind of just keep digging. Yeah. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, our takes on play the game.
Hey, Nick, play the game.
literally just in the first 5 minutes, I'm like, why would I send my poor dog to go pick that thing up? It's 2 feet away. I could do it myself. No, I'm not going to make the dog do that.
It's so funny too, because a lot of times she's like, "Hey, Nix, do you want that, buddy?" And it's like a bomb. But you will get to you will get to hang around and eat food with him. Those are a lot of fun. You can feed the little guy. It's a lot of fun, and you can 100% pet every animal that you ever think you would want to, except some of them they try to eat you, which is a little disappointing. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun.
Who here has watched the new Jedi Adventures episodes?
No, I haven't.
Me either. Me either. That's weird.
I'm going to, but I haven't yet.
Did you actually watch them? Did you watch them?
Yeah, some of them. With my
Well, then
kids.
tell me about it. Do I need to watch it? Talk about it. Let's go.
Yes,
I can't.
they're
I was
so
hoping
cute.
I was hoping you guys could jog my memory. My kid was watching one of them, and it was the episode, and there was this little deer creature, and it had like 4 eyes. I can't remember its name, but it was super cute, and I was like, I need more critters in Star Wars. You guys are trying to get rid of the critters. I want more of them.
I ain't trying to get rid of no critters. I was the first one to like the critters, except Basil.
You're not talking about Ember, the char,
the flaming dog. I don't think she'd get that confused with a deer.
It kind of looks like a deer in the show, to be honest.
I wrote it. I actually wrote it down. Let me confirm my notes. Well, like keep talking.
Guy
It's gonna
Gad
take me a
boys,
minute.
I'm a little confused by your comment. I must have seen it late. I must be missing the context, but I sure do appreciate the fact that you are here, and we're glad to have you here. Welcome to the show. Anyone else help me with this context? I'm missing it as well. But hey,
I think
thanks
it
for
might have
stopping
been when
by.
we were talking about the staying
Yeah,
power of the
that's
game.
long.
What's is Concord a game? Is that a
Yeah,
singer or a
it was a
band?
shooter and had such bad reception that they're shutting it down completely after like 2 weeks of it being live. I want to
my
say it
Oh
was a
wow,
actual PlayStation Studios game.
really?
Yeah,
Let's
like it was
Google.
in development for years and years, and they finally came out and they're dropping it after a couple days.
No way!
What
Wow,
yeah,
happened to
PlayStation
the new Valve game?
today actually.
Is that Deadlock? Is
Mhm.
it?
Yeah, just like the
important
biggest
update
flop.
on.
They've completely taken it offline.
Oh, it looks terrible. It looks like Star Wars Hunters. Here, let me
That's
put it
the
up on the
style,
screen. It looks like
Oh.
Overwatch.
I
That's what I
loosely
was
remember somebody mentioned that game. Anthem was a big one that was like that too. It
Yeah.
was looked like it was going to be the next Destiny, and then a lot of us played the beta and we're like, that's awful. That's just not a fun game at all.
Well, see, Guy, you were right. You were exactly right, and we just didn't know what we were talking about. And by we, I mean me, because Michael saved me here. So, yeah, he says 200 million, 8 years development, gone in a week. Woof.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Woof.
Yikes. That's almost as much as the losses that Acolyte made.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Acolyte's over here like, look over there. Look over there. Look, that guy. Come on. What's the deal? Oh, man. Well, yeah, I'm having fun with Outlaws. I think if they could keep dropping story packs. I don't know how many they're gonna do. I know they've committed to 2.
Or a $17 a month Ubisoft Plus subscription.
Listen, man, I'm just saying, if you were to drop in this time period, I'm trying to think. Oh my God, that's what it is. If you put out a Black Sun additional syndicate, right? Put them in. I'm telling you, man, I'm locked like that. I kept hoping for that. I know Star Wars Explained said the same thing. I know we're getting Lando and we're getting Hondo, but yeah, if they do like a third one, I'll buy it a la carte. Let's go. The Shisor update, or maybe they save that for Outlaws 2, Reptilian Boogaloo. I don't know. But yeah, Wyatt chimes back in and said that cartoon style is too prevalent nowadays. Valorant too, they're all doing it. Yeah, I agree. I am not drawn to that. That's like when they did Star Wars Hunters. It was the same sort of deal. I couldn't get into it. It is not for me. I am not a Valorant player. I'm not an Outlaws.
The benefit
enjoyer.
to Valorant though is that art style and the way they've done it, it's so optimized you can play that game on a potato and potentially even competitively. Like it requires zero computer. You could play it on your average laptop. It works great.
Your phone.
Unlike something like Overwatch, where it's poorly optimized and it was like the successful example of the cartoony thing. Like Overwatch and Fortnite kind of like established that as the new standard. Everyone will play and make games that look this cartoony, but then like it's not the same as something like a Valorant. So we're going to tangent real hard if we get into that.
Yeah, get Michael talking about video game design. We'll be here all night. Yeah, I think the world needs more games like Fortnite, not less. That's something I definitely believe, and I'm not being sarcastic about. No, it's just I don't know, man. Like again, I like this type of game. This is more my speed. I am the guy who, is busy all day, and then I just want to veg out on Tatooine. So a competitive gamer I am not, and that's where this one is a lot of fun. So look,
I'm so.
And do you think?
Go
ahead, Andy.
Andy
I'm so
first. You've been
frustrated
muted
right
most
now.
of the time. Why are you
No, you
frustrated?
finding
What
it.
do we do?
Find it.
I was trying to find a picture. It's called an Ackler, Aklyrr, but this is like a new thing I think introduced in Star Wars, because when you search Ackler, you get results for the Acolyte.
I typed it
So
in and I got an article for the murder of Skylar Ness.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's.
I typed Ackler Star Wars is what I did.
I should have
But
probably done that. Yeah.
yeah, it's all right. So I was like, it's fine. I'll just
R.I.P.
screenshot it from Disney
Skylar.
Plus. So I went to the Disney Plus episode. I combed through it to find it. You can't screenshot Disney Plus on your phone. They don't want you. No, no, no,
You can
no,
take
no,
a picture
no.
of it with another phone, though.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's a plant. Oh, nice. There
You
we
know, it
go.
kind of looks like the rat creatures from Ahsoka, but with antlers.
I think it's cute that they have 4 eyes. That's really all I want to show you guys.
Well,
Mission
thank
accomplished.
you. We sure appreciate that.
I'm with Reba though on like a Star Wars bestiary. Like I want a book of all the different bugs and animals and mammals and stuff.
I mean, you're getting that.
They had something.
I
in
want that,
Hogwarts,
but it needs to be. It's a
wait.
taxidermy book because it's still Star Wars cross sections.
Oh, that'd be fun.
No,
That's just
you're
something
right.
they could
It's
put in the
not. We're
next
not
game.
getting that. I got it confused. It was Dark Crystal Bestiary, right? Is that right, Andy?
Yeah, that's what
I'm
she's talking
sorry.
about.
I
I
think
want a Star
somebody
Wars
posted like fan art of a Star Wars version that wasn't real.
Guy Gadboy says Lucasfilm presents the Acolyte, the video game. I don't even know what that would look like. Yeah, I don't either, and God only knows what the response to that would be. The only community that has has a chance to be more toxic than Star Wars fans are gamers, and when you put the power of two together. One could even say it's the toxicity of one, the toxicity of two, the toxicity of many. Wyatt says the thoughts on Black Myth Wukong, Michael B. We're way off program, but
yeah, I don't
because
think
he's my
I'm
brother.
tracking that one. I'm looking it up now. It looks cool, but it's
kind of a
don't know.
Souls-like.
Yeah, I think I have seen, actually, I've seen some things, and then I've seen some people complaining about calling every action game that it has a dodge and a roll mechanic as a Souls-like. I do think I did see some videos on this. It looks cool.
You can dodge and roll in Star Wars Outlaws. Let me tell you, it's a Souls-like.
Oh, snap. But you're not, but people called the Jedi games, the Survivor and the Outlaws, they called those Souls-like too, or Souls-light, and then there's no real definition. My question was going to be, though, Ed, do you, for a game that is released 5 years later, do you see any actual market visual improvement on Outlaws over the first Jedi game, the Outcast game?
Fallen Order?
Like,
No.
does it actually look better to you?
No.
Or are you talking about something else?
Fallen Order.
Yeah.
No.
And that to me is a problem.
The question I thought you were going to ask me is, do I see a market improvement visually over Assassin's Creed Odyssey or something like that? And I was still going to be hard pressed to say anything other than no. Because I think
what
the
about
answer is no.
since I don't know, 2014 Assassin's Creed Unity?
Yes.
I still feel like
I would say it's better. It's better than the Egypt one, and it's on par with Greece. And I don't know, Valhalla, I didn't play it, but it's in that cut.
But the problem
it's
is,
on Tatooine.
it's not just
you know
like,
what I mean? Come on,
everything is not just
the
the lighting and the shadows and the texture quality and the resolution. Like, to me, there's like when somebody's talking and their mouth is clearly not even mapped to words, and it's just la 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 la, or their teeth are like floating in their mouth, or their eyeballs look like kind of like an old cartoon when they have like a mat and like a door, and you're like, oh, that door's gonna open because it doesn't even match the mat. That's their eyeballs in this game. Their eyeballs are just kind of floating.
I haven't had that bad of an experience. It has not been a Bethesda game to me, but it is not as good as it could be. I will freely admit that.
It's also not as bad as a Watch Dogs situation where people literally asked for refunds and they got like sued over the fact that their pre-game release footage was not even in the same engine. It wasn't even running on like a consumer level computer because it couldn't possibly be as good as it looked, and everyone was mind blown when it came out, and it was not good. So
I never played Watch Dogs either. That'll come as a surprise
That's okay.
to 5 people.
It was a controversy back in, 2014 or something like that when it happened.
That's a good time for controversies, let me tell you.
True. We could use some
No,
better ones.
no. If you level up high enough, you can remove his
He
bathing
takes it off.
suit. Yeah. That's how that would go.
But if EA makes it, that's going to be about 50 hours of gameplay and grinding the same thing over and over again until you get that particular skin that was probably in the trailer when you
you got to buy the bath time DLC in order to get it. The full pickle pack. Wyatt Michael says.
No, that was Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Oh yeah. You laid some schmeat in that game. Let me tell you. Goodness gracious. Yeah, that was
some very
almost
historically
like,
accurate statues.
That was almost like Baldur's Gate, wasn't it? Wyatt is in agreement that Watch Dogs was bad. Okay, this is off the rails. This was a lot of fun though. I'm glad we did this. To Andy's point about community, thank you. You know, like we're bonding here. We're going through this together, and I appreciate that. You can still expect. I know I kind of yanked your chain about the streaming Outlaws. I started playing it, and I was like, you know what? I'm having fun. I need this. I need this. Maybe someday we'll stream it. I don't know. I don't know if I'm the streaming guy. I think about it, but we'll see.
I'll probably stream it anytime I'm playing if I can. I'll probably just stream it on the Discord.
Okay.
So you can watch me run into walls and search every single corner for every single little thing to make sure I didn't miss anything before forgetting what the story was even about. You can watch that. It'd be great. You can even talk to me if you want. I'll answer. And
Guy Gadboy, you know, like, please feel free to join the Discord. Come hang out. You know, welcome. It's a lot of fun. We have a good time. But yeah, we will be doing our rewatch of The Acolyte and discussing that now that it is all over and we're not getting a season 2, looking at it from that perspective. We'll be talking about that likely next week. And we'll also be going over our most recent fantasy draft that we did of Darksiders. I will finally compile those lists, and now that it's been almost a month, it'll be a lot of fun for us to talk about it. But yeah, that's what you can look forward to on program, and we are very, very excited to get to dive back into it all with you. We'll see you next time.
On program.
Thank you, one and all. It's been a lot of fun hanging out. This was a good one. I enjoyed this. This was a nice, long conversation. I hope you had fun wherever you are. If you're on your way to your commute, if you are coming back from your commute, or if your life is one long, circuitous commute, we're happy to spend it with you. And listen, we can't wait to see you next time. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, every single last bit of it, and hang out with us throughout the week. We'll see you next time. This is On Program.
On program.